You think they broke you. You think that betrayal, that loss, that moment when everything crumbled, you think it shattered something perfect inside you. But here's the truth that will make you tremble. They didn't break you. They revealed that you were never whole to begin with. You were living on borrowed wholeness, constructed wholeness, the kind that needs others to validate it, circumstances to protect it, illusions to sustain it. And when the storm came, when the person left, when the dream died, when the mask fell, you discovered that what you thought was your foundation was nothing but sand. The pain you feel isn't the pain of being broken. It's the pain of finally seeing what was always true. You were never complete. You were just comfortable with your incompleteness. Look at how you built yourself. Look at the materials you used. Their love was your cornerstone. Their approval was your walls. Their presence was your ceiling. Their validation was your very ground. And you called this architecture. You called this strength. You called this home. But a home built from other people's emotions is not a home at all. It's a prison made of glass, beautiful to look at, but destined to shatter at the first real storm. The moment they withdrew their love, your walls began to crack. The moment they questioned your worth, your foundation began to shake. The moment they left, your entire structure collapsed. And in that collapse, you finally saw the truth you had been running from your entire life. You had been living as a beggar calling yourself a king. From the very beginning, they taught you to build yourself from the outside in. Your mother's smile became your first mirror. Your father's pride became your first measurement. Your teacher's approval became your first currency. Your friend's acceptance became your first religion. They told you that love would complete you, that success would validate you, that approval would make you whole. So you became an architect of dependence, constructing your identity from the materials others provided. Their praise became your walls. Their presence became your foundation. Their acceptance became your roof. You called it love, but it was addiction. You called it ambition, but it was desperation. You called it connection, but it was codependence. And deep down in the silence between your thoughts, you always knew. You felt the trembling of that house built on shifting ground. You sensed the fragility of a self that required constant maintenance from external sources. But you pushed that knowing away, because facing your incompleteness felt more terrifying than living with the lie. So you painted over the cracks. You reinforced the walls with more achievements, more relationships, more distractions. You built higher and higher, hoping that altitude would provide stability. You became a master craftsman of illusion, creating increasingly sophisticated methods of self-deception. You learned to read the room, to become what others needed you to be, to shapeshift your way into acceptance. You developed an exquisite sensitivity to the emotional weather of others. Their moods became your climate. Their energy became your atmosphere. Their stability became your seasons. And you told yourself this was wisdom, this was love, this was connection, but it was slavery. Beautiful, sophisticated, voluntary slavery. You had become so skilled at being what others needed that you forgot who you were when no one was watching. You had become so adept at reflecting their desires that you lost sight of your own face in the mirror until the earthquake came. Until the person who was your pillar walked away. Until the dream that was your ceiling collapsed. Until the approval that was your oxygen was suddenly withdrawn. And in that moment of devastation, you finally saw you had been living in a house of cards, calling it a fortress. The pain you feel now isn't the pain of destruction. It's the pain of awakening to what was always true. You weren't broken by them. You were revealed by them. The cracks were always there. The weakness was always present. The incompleteness was always the foundation of your constructed self. They didn't create the fragility. They simply stopped pretending it wasn't there. What you're experiencing is what the ancient Greeks called kenosis, the emptying that precedes true filling. It's the philosophical recognition that all constructed identity is ultimately illusory, that every self built from external validation is a self built on quicksand. Heraclitus understood this when he said, "The way up and down are one and the same." Your falling apart isn't separate from your coming together. They are the same movement, seen from different angles, What you call breaking is actually revealing. The storm doesn't create the weakness in the structure. It merely exposes what was always there. This is the terrifying gift of crisis. It strips away everything that isn't, essentially you. It removes all the borrowed strength, all the second-hand identity, all the scaffolding you mistook for architecture. Nietzsche spoke of this when he wrote about the eternal return, the idea that you must live as if this moment, this crisis, this stripping away would happen again and again, infinitely. Could you embrace it? Could you say yes to the dissolution of everything you thought you were? Because that's what spiritual maturity demands, the courage to let your false self die over and over again, until only what is indestructible remains. The Buddhists call this sunyata, emptiness, but not the emptiness of lack, the emptiness of infinite possibility, the emptiness that is pregnant with all potential, all becoming, all truth. And what remains in that emptiness isn't nothing. It's the space where something authentic can finally be born. Your incompleteness isn't a flaw to be fixed. It's the creative void from which your true self emerges. The crack in your heart isn't where the light gets out, it's where the light gets in. This is the profound paradox of spiritual awakening. You must become nothing to become everything. You must lose yourself completely to find yourself truly. The self you thought you were, the one built from others' opinions, sustained by others' energy, validated by others' presence. That self was never real. It was a mirage, a projection, a beautiful lie you told yourself to avoid the terror of standing alone. But alone is where you meet yourself. Alone is where you discover what was never given to you by others, and therefore can never be taken away. Alone is where you find the wholeness that was always there, waiting beneath the construction project you called your life. Now comes the radical reframe that will change everything. Wholeness isn't something you achieve. It's something you already are beneath all the fragments you've collected. The sun doesn't become complete by gathering light from other sources. It simply shines from its own center, from its own burning core. You have been trying to complete yourself by addition, when wholeness comes through subtraction, through stripping away everything that isn't essentially you. This new virtue isn't built, it's uncovered. It doesn't depend on circumstances aligning or people staying or dreams materializing. It exists prior to all of that, deeper than all of that. It's the wholeness of the ocean, which remains complete whether storms rage on its surface or perfect calm prevails. The waves don't add to the ocean's completeness. The storms don't subtract from its wholeness. It simply is, fully and completely, in every moment, regardless of surface conditions. It's the wholeness of space itself, which contains all movement, and remains unmoved, holds all forms and remains formless. Space doesn't become more complete when it's filled with stars, nor less complete when it's empty. It is wholeness itself, the context in which all completion and incompletion appear. This is the wholeness that doesn't need completion because it never experiences itself as incomplete. It's not the wholeness of having everything. It's the wholeness of being everything you are, fully, without apology or addition. When you touch this deeper wholeness, you stop trying to complete yourself through others. You stop making your peace conditional on external circumstances. You stop treating your worth like a puzzle with missing pieces. You begin to love from overflow, not from emptiness. You begin to give from abundance, not from need. You begin to connect from completeness, not from desperation. This is love without addiction, connection without codependence, giving without depletion. You become like the river that flows not because it lacks, but because it is full. Like the flower that blooms not to earn approval, but because blooming is its nature. Like the bird that sings not for applause, but because song is the overflow of its being. And paradoxically, it's only when you stop needing others to complete you that you become capable of truly meeting them, truly loving them, truly being present with them. Because now you're not relating to them as a source of something you lack. You're relating to them as wholeness meeting wholeness. Completeness recognizing completeness, being celebrating being. This is the secret the storm revealed. You were looking for yourself in all the wrong places. You were searching for your face in other people's mirrors, when your true face has no reflection. You were seeking your worth in other people's opinions when your true worth transcends all measurement. You were hunting for your completeness in other people's love, when your completeness is the very ground from which love springs. The person who left didn't take your wholeness with them. They revealed that you had been looking for your wholeness in them when it was always in you. The dream that died didn't kill your completeness. It showed you that you had been trying to build your identity on a future that might never come, when your identity is what you are right now, in this moment, complete and whole. The approval that was withdrawn didn't diminish your worth. It demonstrated that you had been renting your self-esteem from others, when your true value is not for sale, not for rent, not dependent on anyone's recognition. But even this realization must die. Even this beautiful understanding of your inherent wholeness, it too must be released. Because the moment you grasp it, the moment you make it into a concept to hold on to, it becomes another construction, another identity to defend. True wholeness doesn't grasp at wholeness. True completeness doesn't cling to completeness. Listen, there is a deeper truth than even your deepest understanding. There is a silence more profound than your most beautiful insights. There is an emptiness more full than your richest realizations. There comes a time when even your most precious spiritual insights must be offered to the fire, when even your most profound realizations must be let go, when even your hardest-won wisdom must be surrendered. This is the ultimate spiritual maturity, knowing when to disappear into the silence that births all understanding. The river doesn't hold onto its water. The tree doesn't grasp its leaves. The sun doesn't cling to its light. They give, they flow, they shine, and then they let go. They trust the deeper rhythm that governs all emergence and dissolution. Your true wholeness lies not in any understanding you can hold, but in your willingness to release even your highest realizations when the time comes. There is a stillness beneath all movement, a silence beneath all sound, an emptiness beneath all form. And sometimes, to touch your deepest completeness, you must be willing to dive into that emptiness, to let everything you think you know about yourself dissolve, to let every identity, even the most beautiful ones, fall away, to let every concept, even the most liberating ones, return to the silence from which they came. In that dissolution, something indestructible is revealed. Something that was never broken because it could never be broken. Something that was never incomplete because it was never separate from the wholeness of existence itself. This is why the sage is empty. This is why the wise one speaks little. This is why the truly complete person appears to have nothing. They have discovered the secret that lies beyond all secrets, that the deepest wholeness is found not in having everything, but in needing nothing. Not in understanding everything, but in being comfortable with mystery. Not in controlling everything, but in trusting the intelligence that moves through all things. They have learned to rest in the space between thoughts, to dwell in the silence between words, to find their home in the emptiness that contains all fullness. This is the paradox of spiritual maturity. You become whole by releasing your need to be whole. You become complete by surrendering all concepts of completion. You find yourself by losing yourself so completely that there's nothing left to find, and in that nothing, everything is revealed. In that emptiness, all fullness is contained. In that silence, all truth is spoken. The storm that seemed to destroy you was actually a midwife, delivering you to yourself. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning. What felt like death was actually birth. What appeared to be breakdown was actually breakthrough. You are not broken. You are not incomplete. You are not a problem to be solved or a puzzle to be completed. You are the space in which all breaking and mending happens. You are the awareness in which all stories of incompleteness arise and dissolve. You are the wholeness that remains constant while all partial things come and go. You are whole, not because you have gathered all the pieces, but because you are the wholeness in which all pieces appear. The person who left revealed this truth. The dream that died uncovered this reality. The approval that was withdrawn exposed this fact. They didn't break you. They broke the illusion that you were broken. They didn't destroy you. They destroyed the false self that was never really you. They didn't take your wholeness, they revealed that your wholeness was never theirs to take. This is the gift hidden in every loss, the treasure buried in every disappointment, the light concealed in every darkness, the revelation of what you always were beneath all the stories of what you thought you lacked. If these words have touched something true in you, if they have awakened a recognition you couldn't name before, then make this commitment. Write in the comments, "I am already whole," not as an affirmation you're trying to convince yourself of, but as a recognition of what was always true. Not as a goal you're reaching for, but as a reality you're finally acknowledging. Not as something you hope to become, but as something you've always been. Let those words be your declaration of independence from the tyranny of incompleteness. Let them be your refusal to treat yourself as a project to be completed. Let them be your recognition that the search for wholeness ends, not with finding something new, but with seeing what was never lost. The journey from breaking to wholeness isn't a journey through space. It's a journey through recognition. It's the gradual awakening to what you always were, beneath all the stories of what you thought you lacked. The storm didn't break you. It revealed you. It stripped away everything borrowed, everything false, everything temporary, until only the indestructible remained. And what remains is not a fragment, not a piece, not something incomplete. What remains is the whole, recognizing itself as whole in a moment beyond time, in a space beyond breaking. You are that wholeness. You have always been that wholeness. You will always be that wholeness. The storm only helped you remember what you had temporarily forgotten, that you are not something that can be broken, because you are the unbreakable awareness in which all breaking and mending occurs. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to the wholeness that was never absent, only hidden beneath the beautiful, tragic, temporary stories you told yourself about being incomplete. The search is over. The wholeness you sought was the wholeness you always were. You are already whole.